You're listening to the Building Stronger Agents podcast, where we interview the top solo agents, team leaders, and brokers across the country to see what makes them thrive in today's market and beyond. This episode of the Building Stronger Agents podcast is brought to you by Social Orchard. At Social Orchard, we help successful real estate agents nurture their past clients in Sphere 4 to 5 days a week so that you can never be forgotten. We're going to help you build a community with a private Facebook group. We provide all of the content, we help you engage and have conversations with your Sphere. All you have to do is invite your Facebook friends, grow the group, and engage with the comments daily. With your private friends and family Facebook group, you are never going to be forgotten again. And over time, your referral and repeat business is going to be stronger than it ever has been before. Visit socialorchard.com. Welcome back, everybody. Will Penny here on the Building Stronger Agents podcast. And today we have a friend of mine, Bobby Johnson, who actually is in Panama City Beach, Florida. I had a chance to go down and visit him earlier in the year. Beautiful part of the country. Lots of very expensive real estate. Bobby's been in the business for over 20 years. And today we're going to just talk about, this transitioning market. Since he and I have both been doing this a long time, we're a couple of crotchety old men. And we're going to talk about his business and, hopefully give you some tips on how you can have a better end of your year. So, Bobby, how's it going today, man? Good?
It's going great. Yeah, actually, I'm in Santa Rosa Beach, Panama City. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I meant to say Santa Rosa Beach. I don't know why I said
everybody
that.
does that. We're actually, Santa Rosa Beach is between Panama City Beach and Destin. And most people are familiar with those.
I screwed up. I know where you are. I was
Hey,
obviously there.
I'll sell a home in Panama City Beach, though, all day long, though.
Right. And one little cool thing about Santa Rosa Beach, what's the name of the town next door where they did the movie, the Jim Carrey movie?
Yeah, so the seaside, so the Truman Show. Yeah,
Truman Show.
Yeah. Kind of what launched us, actually, and it really kind of helped us get discovered when Hollywood discovered us. By the way, if you haven't seen that show, I highly recommend it. It's so good. And 30A is consists of a lot of these little planned unit developments. We call them PUDs along 30A from Rosemary. Now we have Seacrest. It's Rosemary, Seacrest, Kaya, Alice Beach, Water Sound, Watercolor, and they're all just like little separate little pockets in their own identity. The design's different in all the communities.
Right.
Yeah.
They're all created to look a certain way. Like the one, is it Watercolor? The one that looks a lot like Charleston.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. Well, maybe Water Sound might be more Charleston. But they're very similar. Water Sound will have the shingles, the upgraded shingles, where Watercolor will have metal roofs. More like a larger version of Seaside. I would lean towards what Watercolor is, and then Water Sound probably more Charleston look to it.
Yeah. Anyway, they've all got a different vibe. It's very created. So there's good. I like that part. I like the beach is amazing because you have to step down to the beach, which I wasn't expecting. Like you're high up. It's more like on the West Coast.
It's funny. We have people all the time will say, but we want to get in an area where we don't really have to walk down, people that are new to the area. We want to walk down. We don't want to walk down the steps. We'd like to buy where we can walk straight out. And I always go, no, you don't. Trust me, you don't. That's what protects us is that elevation,
Oh, absolutely.
Our Gulf front is called floods. All of Florida is a flood zone, first of all. But the flood zone X is the one you want, right? And the majority of our Gulf front along 30A is flood zone X. You don't even need flood insurance. They say if
that floods,
state of Florida,
all hell's breaking loose.
State of Florida is underwater. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, speaking of, it is hurricane season. It just started, so we'll see how that plays out.
Bobby, how'd you get in the business, man?
Man,
been doing this how long? How many years?
1999. So, 24 years now.
Yeah, 24 years.
My dad was a contractor. uh, or my stepfather is a contractor, excuse me. So I was always around real estate agents. I didn't want to be one. That was my, I don't know that a lot of people seek that out, even though my son is kind of curious about it, because he's watched me. I love it and enjoy it. I think he picks up on that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I was a nurse for a while. I had an art and furniture store for a long time. I worked with my dad as I kind of real estate kind of evolved. I always tell people I ran out of options, and I was selling paintings and furnishings, and I was making $100 and $200, and these agents were coming into my shop, and they're telling me you should get into real estate, and you sell a piece of land, and you're at um, you make $5,000. And I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't really get all that. So I started leaning in that direction. I got in it with St. Joe. Arvida St. Joe is a big landholder here. And I was one
Right.
of the first agents with them. And it's been on go ever since I got in. I've been probably like you, Will. I never really had a lull. I'm always kind of going for it.
Right.
Ever since the day I got in it, I was always active with it, and I think a lot of that was because I understood what I was selling. I understood the market. I grew
Yeah,
up.
you've been in the area.
Hmm.
That's important. Hey, so what kind of, just so everyone knows, what kind of volume are you doing now, or like last year, what you've been used to?
I think last
In a
year,
year?
I think we closed in around 80 million in sales last year. This year, like everybody, whew,
Everyone's down.
my gosh, I'm not sure where we are. I'm trying not to look right now, Will.
I haven't even tracked my production this
I
year.
mean, I know it's not good, but we have recently found a rhythm. I think we've entered into, you've heard of a tweener market. Have you and I talked about that?
Okay, yeah.
Where the buyers and the sellers are kind of banging up. Buyers are thinking there's going to be price reductions, and the
Right.
sellers aren't reducing like we thought they would. Inventory is steadily on the uptick. But I think for us, for what we do, we're starting to find our rhythm. I think we closed 5 properties last month. Um,
Nice.
so, so August is good. We're fighting for these deals though. We're working twice as hard, making half the money right now. And we've all been here before. We're just going to find a way to make it work. I think that's what agents that have been in this a long time know how to do.
Right. So I know you do some luxury down there. You're kind of forced to because it's so expensive. But let's talk a little bit about that because I know a lot of agents would like to get into the luxury market, and there's a couple of obvious ways to get into it. Calling expensive expireds, calling expensive FISBOs. That'll get you in that room pretty quickly. But uh, when you're dealing, you've told me about some really expensive sales that you've had. I mean, did you have to work to get into that, or did it just happen because you're in that market?
I think for me, it evolved with some intention. You and I share the same coach, and I used to, because I've been here so long. People think that growing up here, you know everybody, and so you're well connected. But you have to keep in mind, growing up here, I know a lot of broke people, people that grew up here and lived here early on. They didn't.
They didn't have any
Come
money.
from a lot of money. It's the people that were vacationing here and their kids that were a little bit more connected to people that could afford these luxury homes. So for
Hmm.
me, I've always been I was always a transaction guy. You know what I mean? If I
Right.
could get 60, 70, 80 transactions, I always told my team one a week, one deal a week. That's all I'm looking for, right? But again, with some intention, I began to seek out this luxury stuff, and that was with good coaching and reminding me to go after it. Because if not, I heard a guy say this one time. It really hit home. A guy with Beach Group, another local real estate company, guy named Andy Wiggins. He said, in all my years of doing this, I've never really seen an agent's business change. You know what I mean? Like, because I have people that move to 30A and they're like, "But I'm still working the Destin business." They pretty much
Right.
get stuck over there in Destin. If you're working, low income, first time home buyers, when you get started, you might get stuck there if you do not make a specific plan. So we intentionally went after high end builders. We became to, even began to get more social in the social circles of where we might find that people have a little more money. And I'll tell you, frankly, the luxury market is way easier than the other market. I'm working a $90,000 lot right now that's is going to give me a heart attack. You know what I mean? I swear, all my low end stuff right now that I'm doing, and I love doing all of it. Will, you and I talked about this right before this started. Don't get me wrong, and I will
Right.
always do all of it. Right? We
Mm-hmm.
have a $90,000 lot that needs to be probated. And got to get 6, 7 brothers to sign it. When you get into the luxury world, they need a new roof. They get a new roof. There's no they just deal with it. They're used to this kind of stuff. It seems like they're used to problems, so they're easier to talk to. And so, frankly, I just found it a little bit easier to go down that path,
If you were
especially
talking,
at my age.
if you were talking to a brand new agent that would like to, because there's a couple of young agents in your market. I talked to one, he's in his 20s and he's doing well with more expensive homes. But if you like what, if you've got an agent who wants to get into luxury and they haven't established themselves doing anything else, what are some of the things they need to look out for?
Well, it's you better have some money saved up. It's going to take you, in my opinion, it's going to take you a little while to do it. But if I could do it all over again and look at my career, I probably would have. I would, knowing what I know now, I would have gone directly into that market. I'm still, I'm still having to dabble in the other market because I think it's just part of growing up here and knowing everybody, and I still
Oh,
love
sure,
it.
you can't say no.
Yeah, but as a new agent, I would literally get in those circles. I mean, like I said, each of those communities, there's restaurants, there's places to walk your dog. That's where I'd be doing my mailers. I would be building websites that brought that town in. I would be do now. You could do pay per clicks that focus in on those areas. I would
Right.
probably just focus on luxury. Now, can you sustain though? It's because it's a harder process to get each between each sale. You and I spoke about Darla's wonderful success, right? I mean, Darla's been doing it 4 years. She'll probably beat my numbers this year. I wouldn't be surprised, but I bet you I'll probably do 3 times the transactions as her. You know,
Right.
what would you rather do? I would highly recommend agents getting into it that want to get into the luxury market, learn everything they can about luxury market and luxury buyers and sellers, and focus primarily on that. Because if not, you could get stuck.
What do you need to know about luxury buyers and sellers? What are you talking about?
Well, I liken it to. I heard this story one day about this guy, this $60,000 cheeseburger. Have you heard this before?
No.
So there's a place where you can get a $60,000 cheeseburger, and people were like, "Who in the world would buy a $60,000 cheeseburger?" And people that actually they sell these things, right? Well, when you realize of the kind of money people have, say this guy and he's worth 500 million, $1 billion. Okay, I've got clients that are Bitcoin people that are worth 200 or $300 million, right? Um,
Hmm.
they literally this burger at 60,000 is the same cost to them as the guy that works at the place that's paying $7 for the burger. Mathematically, it's the same amount of money. So you
Yeah.
have to realize the way they think about money. When you're in the real estate business, we always think we need to save them money or save. They don't. What they want is time and no hassle. They don't want to deal with the little stuff. You know what I mean? I'm sorry about that. My dog is deciding
No,
to
that's
bark.
gold though. They're not thinking about the money so much.
Sky, Sky, come here. By the way, you know how I got this dog? I went to a listing appointment and the lady died the next day.
And you got her dog?
That's her dog.
That is awesome.
I don't know about it. Maybe awesome for you. Listen to this thing. Hey, Sky. Let me grab him real fast so I can
All right.
hear you. Come here, buddy. All right. Sorry about that, Will.
Oh
So
no,
isn't
it's all good.
isn't that a neat analogy though? It's the same cost for the guy that works there that's making $15 an hour. So we have to think about that, like they
It's all perceived value.
They just look at things differently. So when you're with them and they're looking at things, you have to view from their space, not you're saving them or they don't care about the money. So if you're thinking like, oh, this is a better deal, they want the location, they want the hassle free. They don't think about the money as much. They just, matter of fact, some of them I've noticed will get a kick out of seems like lately, who can spend the most for a golf front home. I think that's kind of got it was 8 million, then it was 10, then it was 12, then it was 15, then it was 18, now it's 24 million. I almost wonder if who can spend the most on a golf front home.
Fighting for it.
But then the luxury buyer, we had, I forget who it was that came down here and spoke to all of us at one point and talked about in Miami, right? The golf front or waterfront, is 60 to 50 million dollars, where ours is at 20. The high end stuff is 20 million. So they still think this stuff's got to play a way to go. They don't want to be saving money per se. They want what they want, and they recognize all the little details, from the lighting, the light switches, what kind of tile, what kind of granite, what kind of. They're very astute to items like that. It's how they grew up. Majority of them.
They like things.
They like it. Mm-hmm.
So there's some ego around.
What's the difference between the new money and the old money too? So that's always a fun little try to pick up a little bit. The
Did you
old.
ever read the book? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you ever read the book, The Millionaire Next Door?
Yeah, long time ago. Yeah.
Right. At the beginning, it starts off with them having a get together for all these people that are worth at least $5 million or $10 million, and they had all this fancy stuff out, and they realized that the wealthy, the truly wealthy, the prodigious accumulators of wealth, they call them, they weren't interested in all of the expensive food and all of that. They had earned it, and they're conservative with their money. That's the old money. So they're very conservative. That's why they have so much money. And they talked about guns and butter. They spend their money on appreciating items instead of consumables. So I guess when you're talking about affluent people, you have to figure out what's important to them before you start making assumptions too, right?
Yeah, I've always found, yes, definitely. I've always found, ask a lot of questions, as always, right? I'm asking a lot of questions, and I'm learning as I go about them. I mean, we have systems now where we can educate ourselves on the buyer, as much as we possibly can before we meet with them. They like what they like. I mean, it's crazy. You can't sound salesy. They're not going to fall for any of that. They don't right. At all. You just be. I've found that probably everything in life, just be yourself. If you get in front of them and understand, you have to know the properties a little bit more. So now when we print out the MLS, you go to see the property. You're learning about it with them. I try to learn a lot more about the property before I get with them, and I do it together. I have a partner, Stacy Petrucci. Right. I will always drive. She'll drive, and I'll be the entertainment per se, or shuffling through the sheets and then handling getting the houses open. It takes two people to keep them going. Sometimes they ride with us. Since COVID, most of the time they don't want to get in the car with you. They want to be in the back. Mm-hmm. Follow you.
No, I completely get it. Mm-hmm. So what do you think of this market right now? What's your projection for the future? Do you have any? I mean, you've been 1999, you went through the housing crash.
Here, let me put this right here, Will.
Oh, he's got his crystal ball up.
Yeah.
What's he saying?
Well, I got asked that 3 times yesterday, and I sent people pictures of my crystal ball. I'll send you a picture on your phone. I don't know. It's been wrong. We were correcting pre-COVID. COVID made it explode. Interest rates keep creeping up. I think that's starting to affect us quite a bit now. If I could talk about today, it is radically slowed down for us.
Right.
Um, Even though we're biting, and I think when we say that, people think as agents that means we're not doing anything. We're still doing things. I'm just like I said, we're working, 50% hard. No, we're working 100% harder. We're making 50% of the money. It's
Hmm.
just harder. You have to find deals. The buyers are tougher to work with. They're like vultures right now. They're circling. Sellers do not want to come down. Why would they? Most of these properties are paid for. They have 2.5% interest rate on them. They don't want to let that go. Where are they going to go from here? I've been very fortunate to find people that are leaving this market, that are moving on out of the area. So those have been successful for me. But where is it headed? Inventory is not growing like I thought it was or would. I think we're in for a correction. I feel like if I say that enough, there's a 50% chance I'll get it right. I don't. I mean, I think Gary Keller said it best. In his 40 years of doing this, he's never seen a market like this. And I would have to agree with that. In my 23 or 4 years of doing this, I've never seen one act like this. It's not doing what it should be doing based on the drop in sales and inventory growing. Prices should be dropping more than they are.
In in our market, house prices are up over 4% over the last 12 months. The number of transactions is down 16.9. The problem is, in my opinion, you've got sellers that don't want to leave their rate, or our market's completely different than yours. And that's another thing that people can take out of this. Every market's different. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the market does. Houses still sell, and you just need to make yourself, you need to have a lot more hooks and worms out in the lake because there's fewer fish. But this market, you've got buyers that are continuing to get 7.25% rate, but they're buying anyway. So there's this like, they're feeling the FOMO because there are fewer homes on the market, but then they're forced to get a higher interest rate, and then they've got friends and family that are asking them, what the hell are you doing? So it's like all of this static going on. Sellers that feel like they're suckers if they lower their price because they can't see how it really works. So they see last year what homes were selling for, and they want that now. And then you've got buyers that are getting a higher rate, and they're reading news that house prices should be dropping, but they're not. So they feel like they're being played. The whole thing is a cluster. But at the end of the day, houses are still continuing to sell. So if transactions are only down 20%, I mean, do you know what the number of transactions are down in your market?
I mean, I hold on while you're sharing that. I'll look that up because I was
Like
just.
in my market, it's year over year, it's about 17% total down. So, and the thing is, I keep saying this, I sound like a broken record. My crystal ball is this. The one part I know is going to happen, because real estate agents are financially fragile and the barrier of entry is so low to get into this business, as the housing market constricts, a disproportionate number of realtors leave the business. So every time, and I'm sure that happened in your market in 2009, when paychecks get too far apart, it doesn't matter if it's because of a housing crash or a shortage of inventory. Agents don't leave because of that. They leave because they're not making enough money because their paychecks get too far apart and they can't bridge that gap without getting a job, right?
Right.
So I
Well,
think that,
we're down. Sorry, we are. Just want to. While I have this pulled
yeah, I
up,
want to see that.
29%, 29 point, almost 30%.
Right. So what'll happen is now a lot of agents in your market, I would imagine, are already doing great, or they have a spouse who's successful.
I don't know. I'm going to go with the Warren Buffett theory, where the tide's
Who's,
going out and we're about to see who's swimming naked.
right. Who's got no pants on.
I think they're going to see a lot of that. But I'm a firm believer that it's no matter where we are. I told an agent this yesterday. It's always price. Okay, buyers never leave markets ever, and I can prove
Right.
it. I
Oh
can,
yeah, there's always
they can
that
prove it.
means
Value
wait,
leaves market. Value, and you just outlined all the reasons why value has left the marketplace. Insurance, interest rates, the news. I mean, my gosh, they're just not interested right now. They don't want to play this. Real estate's been on fire for 13 years. What did we expect? It was just time. It's not always time to be a buyer and a seller. So here we
but it
are.
never dries up. It never dries up, Bobby.
We're at the price right. People get mad when I say that because, well, they think they're at the right price. And I'm not saying you should sell your home. You should, but if you can't sell it, you either lower the price or you don't. It
Or you
doesn't.
stay there.
And I love how you said, it's our market's different than yours. And here we're very local. These little communities are all different. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I was looking at one yesterday, and I was explaining to this a newer agent, Turner Ogle, Darla's son, who's a great agent. He's going to be a rock star. But
Hmm.
this is the first time. Will the majority of these agents that are out here have been in this? Think about this.
Oh, I know.
This is it. They've never seen anything like this. So I was looking at a neighborhood that he's got listed, and there's 16 homes for sale in there. Okay,
Oh, wow.
okay, 16. And this little tiny little PUD that he's got,
And he can't wrap his head around that.
six homes have 6 homes closed within a year. So let's do the math there. That's 2.5 years
2.7
of
years of inventory.
inventory. And
Hmm.
and he's over here banging his head on having this awkward conversation with the seller, and I'm like, you might as well have it. They're not going to sell it. If you don't get in front of those 16 other properties, would you buy in a community that has 16 homes for sale that is literally probably only has 70 homes? I mean,
That's nuts.
no, something's wrong. And I'll tell you what's wrong is the prices are not right. They got to reduce the prices radically.
What, just to bring some clarity to all of this for those listening, none of this means anything because, as I said, there's always going to be homes for sale on the market. There's always going to be buyers that are coming into the market. We're in a
Oh,
recession-proof business. And the one thing that we don't think about is that what always balances the market out is the number of realtors in the business. When the market is going well, then you end up getting hurt because 25% more realtors come into the business. When the market comes down, though, you see 25 to 40% of the realtors leave because the vast majority of real estate agents in the United States of America, out of the 1.5 or whatever million agents, are making under $40,000 or $50,000 a year. So when the market shrinks, the part-timers stay in because they've got another source of income. But then the agents that are, that are making a living wage, they end up having to leave the business. And this time around, the unemployment nationally is about 4%. So the last time around during the housing crash, the unemployment was up to 12% and they still left the business. So if agents were leaving the business
right.
and they're jumping off without a parachute, then now you can go to Target and make $23 an hour. You can go, there's so many places that you can go to make $20 to $25 an hour and replace the income that you were making as a real estate agent. And what happens is they're the ones that are they've got their catcher's mitts up during the good market, and they're taking the friends and family transactions, people close to them, because the market's easy, they give them to them. And we miss out on all of that without realizing it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so what happens is as the market in 2009, when the floor fell out, 2010, for those of us that were left, did great. Because the number of transactions was down by about 25%, but the number of realtors was down by about 40%, because the gap between the number of transactions that drops, it hits those agents way more.
Yeah.
Because if you make 70 grand a year and it drops to 30, you got to get out of the business.
Yeah. Yeah. Here we are again.
For the agents that stay in and just keep working and having conversations, their business will be elevated. Gualtieri, our coach, he always said that. Your business will be elevated to a level that you've never experienced before. And as long as you stay relevant, you're going to stay there.
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
that's the good news in all of this. You can't just look at the numbers. The big force outside that we don't see is the real estate agent population. And
Yes.
they've got most of the time they're not wearing pants
Yes. Yes.
financially.
I think the takeaway on for a new agent on all of this that I told a guy this yesterday was um, live within your means,
Whatever that takes. And if
whatever
you got
that
to make
takes.
extra, if you got to get another job, drive. That's the other thing. You can get a part-time job door dashing or Ubering or Lyft, while you're selling houses. But this business, my real estate license is so precious because once you get to a certain level, unless you can go back to medical school, you're not replacing this income.
No, no, good
It's
point.
a great profession to be in, and we get to deal with people during one of the best times in their life if they're buyers. We get to solve problems for sellers, but unfortunately, and again, I got in because the barrier of entry was low. I was only 19, so if it was much higher, I couldn't have gotten in either.
It blows my mind that you did that. That which is awesome. I need to get my son to talk to you.
Uh, I have no regrets, or as that tattoo said, I have no regrets.
Yeah, it's a love hate. I love it. It worked because I didn't have any other options. It's what I
What are
did.
you? Well, that's the reason you've done well, because you don't have any other options. I don't either.
Yeah.
What are you doing differently right now in this market where the sales are down 40%? What are you doing right now that you may not have done 2 years ago? Keep
Chop
it PG.
chop wood, chop wood, carry water, and do it like you mean it. I've
What
just
what does that actually translate
I've
to?
gotten more consistent with, basically my social media is definitely more consistent. I'm calling past clients a little more often. I've always been fortunate that a lot of the business came to me, which is probably why my business um, did what it did. It evolved the way it did without some intention because until I put the intention in it, it stayed kind of leveled off. But I've had to, we started doing those the mailers, the postcards where it looks like your signature stuff. What is that called? Looks like you wrote it. I've had great success with postcards for some reason, and I think a lot of that is because no one lives here. You know what I mean?
God,
So we don't. Our market is so much different than a lot of other places. I can't go door to door. Coach
because
always
you're
says
not there. You're going to hit a tenant.
there's nobody here, right? I'm not. I'll be honest with you. I'm embarrassed to say this because a lot of
Right,
people don't. I'm not a big cold caller. Never have
right.
been. I don't. I think
I did it a few times.
I probably did it maybe 10 times in my whole career. Now I'll warm call all day long, but I'm not
Right.
a big cold caller. I see some agents having great success with that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I find that my other business is busy enough that I don't need to do that. Um, Will, it's crazy. I'm consistent with my email campaigns. I'm consistent
Right.
with my newsletter. I gotta tell you, man, it's just always the basic stuff, isn't it? It's just
Oh
the
yeah.
it's just the basic real estate is what I do. I do my social
When
media.
you say basic stuff, you're talking about I mean, we can say all of the slang, but at the end of the day, you're just having more conversations with people.
I mean, yeah, yes, definitely. But my basic stuff, if someone wants to know what that is, because I remember agents in the past that I were training. They said, "What do you mean by that?" I get that. So I make sure that I have a good social media campaign. I plug
Right.
each platform at least once a day, right? I try to
Okay.
do as much video as possible. I'm on a little
And
bit
what
of
are you doing? Like when you say platform once a day, what are you actually
I
posting?
make sure I put on Instagram something about the fact that my Instagram has become more my business page, probably more than anything.
Okay.
I make sure that people see that I'm selling. I talk about the sellers. I'll put sold, pending, new listings on. I'll drop that in with me surfing or catching a fish kind of thing right there. I put business
Right.
tips on there. I also throw
Right.
my day to day life on there. Cold plunging. I put that up in the highlights on Instagram, that upper thing
Okay.
right there. Then I and that's connected to my um,
Facebook
Facebook
business page.
business page, right?
Yeah.
Then,
Hmm.
crazy enough, I get a lot of business out of my Facebook page that's not just my social page. I just drop, mostly I could have my kids or fishing. If I drop a new listing in it, I tend to get a lot more calls off of that Facebook version than I do anything else, right?
That
And then,
makes sense.
and so I make sure I do at least once every other day with my Facebook personal. And then of course I've been having a blast with TikTok, and the majority of my
Oh,
TikTok
I'm
has
not getting on. I'm
nothing
not getting on
to do
TikTok.
with real estate. It's but then I could take the TikTok video and plug it into stories into Instagram. Anyways, I'm carrying on here. Email campaigns, postcard campaigns, little bit of print advertising, and a lot of this with past clients. And that's it.
Right. I understand. I understand.
I mean, how does that work? I mean, and that comes from, remember when Coach would lay it out. I could show someone how to make, if you want to make 100 grand, 200 grand, or whatever. There's what you make. How much is each commission, and then how do you do that? You break it down another column over here on this side, and that's what you do
Right.
every day. For you and I and guys that have been doing this, I think it's just a natural process for us. We do that every day, anyways, even on
I
Sunday.
text past clients every week.
Mhm. All the time.
And really, people just don't seem to get it. They're expecting their business to just happen and people to think about them with all the distractions with TikTok and social media. And my wife and I were talking about it yesterday. The amount of hours that we kill watching videos. No wonder we've become so lame. I mean, the vast majority of human beings are spending so much time consuming content, watching videos, and that they're not getting their regular lives done. And it's so important for us as real estate agents to, we talk about the big rocks and the little rocks. The big rocks are staying in touch with your sphere, doing your prospecting, and then the little rocks are reacting to the rest of the stuff that you generate. Following up on transactions and home inspections and showing houses and all of that. But if you're not spending time every day with the big rocks, making sure that you're moving your business forward, that's a very arrogant place to be, because people aren't thinking about us. They're too distracted with all of the. Now they got threads to worry about.
And
Haven't
then
heard about that in a couple of weeks.
our
Threads.
our area was 74 home sales last in the 30A area last month.
That's
45
it.
4,500 agents. So someone's
That's
not.
insanity.
Yeah, someone's not eating. You know what I mean? Like,
Somebody is not eating.
yeah. So, but you know what they're doing though? They're doing
It's a lot of Uber drivers.
a little selfies at the beach, putting on their page just to keep their names out there. I don't think that stuff does anything. I
No, it's not going to do
it
anything.
doesn't do it. You've got the best. I mean, you could do a podcast over what you're doing with Facebook. I mean, that's pretty impressive what you do. That's probably the smartest thing of all.
Well, I just try to stay. He's talking about our private Facebook group that we have all our clients in. I mean, I just try to stay in it. You have to be a beast about staying in touch with people, because if you think in the old days, I mean, people would remember you, but they didn't have all we had in the old days was billboards, or letters or
Or
postcards
fronts of the newspaper.
or newspaper ads.
Wrapper.
Now, our whole lives are consumed by the internet and social media platforms. And if you think for 1 second you're going to sell somebody a house and they're going to remember you in 3 years, or they're going to think one time about recommending you to a friend of theirs, and you're not doing anything to mechanize the process of staying in touch with them, you are going to lose. It's as simple as that. Be prepared to have every 50 to 80% of those people use somebody else next time. You're losing out on all your referral-based business. So you better be staying in touch with people, calling, texting, have an inexpensive event, get your core list of people that you know will recommend you. I heard someone the other day, and we'll close on this. He puts his clients into economy, business class, and first class, just like on a plane. Economy are the people that have used before. You don't know if they'd use you or not. You think they were generally happy, but they're not going to. You can't count on referrals. Business class are people that have used you again, or they might send a referral. And first class, those are the people that you can count on as being your core advocates. And you're trying to move the C's to B. You're trying to move the economy to business class and business class to first class. And you better have the list of first class people and stay in touch with them very regularly. And if you do that, and you call some for sale by owners, and you call around listings and just let people know about a house that just sold, there's no way you're going to fail. But if you don't do that and you're just waiting for people to call you and you think you can just post some selfies on social media, you might as well go start looking for another job now, because it's not going to get any easier.
You know, it reminds me of a quick story. That's great stuff, Will. But a friend of mine said one time, he said, "Hey, you courting your wife? Do you court your wife?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean? Do I court my wife?" He goes, "Well, if you don't court your wife, someone else is going to. Okay, it's the same with your clients. Okay, you don't take your wife out for a date every once in a while and show her love and listen and validation, you're going to have a problem. Our clients, our first class clients, are the same way. They you said, then that goes great with the luxury people. They're very used to VIP service. They expect it. You sell
they're happy to recommend it you if you earn it.
Yeah, you sell a 10 million home and you can't get their little email into your database to touch them again. Ooh, you don't deserve their business when they resell that home for 15 million, or any home for that matter. And they will not. You're right. They will not rehire you. All they saw on that settlement statement is what you made. Okay.
Right.
And they think it's too much.
Exactly.
What does Coach always say? Get your Zillow review before the closing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, man. Listen, you've been very, very helpful. Thanks for taking the time to get on here today. Anything you'd like to say?
Without you giving me a hard time. So do you have? This is the longest we've gone without you giving me a hard time. What's up with that? You feeling okay?
I'm trying to be professional.
I love you, Will. I mean, you do. You've been I'm so glad that you twisted my arm and chokehold me to get me over to the dark side. And I will tell you, closing on an EXP thought, right? Out of everywhere I've been in different brokerages, and some have been purchases, everything except when I opened up my own brokerage, I did enjoy that, right? I sold it years ago. Everything was a tad disappointing. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. That's their business, right? Nothing against any of them. I have utmost respect for everywhere I've been, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Just a little disappointing.
Just a little bit. Even my own, I had challenges with it. This is the first one that I've been with that I'm beyond impressed. No idea how to explain it as far as like when people. I said, you just got it. I've got a new agent about to join on board, and like you'll see. You'll experience what we're talking about. There's so much freedom in it. I wish I'd have done it 3 years ago, and I've never felt like that of any brokerage I've joined. I feel like I'm the owner, which I am, and so I thank you for pushing me along. I thought you were trying to recruit me. Little did I realize you were just trying to help me, and I needed the help to get there, and I'm so grateful I did.
At this stage in my life of 54 years old, and I've had, just like you, I've had more success than I ever thought I would economically. I'm only talking to agents that I know will benefit from the tools that they give us, the stock ownership, the ability to build a revenue share organization or a virtual brokerage within the brokerage. I don't approach most real estate agents because I think they'll be disappointed. But the ones that are well-known entrepreneurs,
yes,
there's zero chance that they're not going to have an amazing time here.
Right. And that, I guess I'm a slow learner. It took me 3 years. It
took me 6 years. 6 years.
I mean, guys like us, thank God it's not about smarts. Persistence and consistency. We get there eventually, Will.
Everybody, once they come over, they go, God, I wish I would have come earlier. But that's like saying, I wish my banana would have been ripe 3 days ago. It's like, it isn't possible. You just you come at your own pace.
Yeah, we get here when we get here.
Once you arrive at a place where you're willing to make a change in life, then now you're in that place mentally where you wish you would have done it before, but before you weren't at that place mentally, so it never would have happened. So on that note, Thanks for taking the time, man.
Hey, always enjoy you, Will. Thank you.
All right. Later. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you got some value out of this episode, and stick with the Building Stronger Agents podcast, and we'll continue to bring amazing agents like Bobby Johnson in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida, to you. Have a good day. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Building Stronger Agents podcast. If you like this episode, please give us a 5-star review and share our podcast with your friends.